Hello, everyone. So, you're taking on IGCSE Additional Mathematics. That's fantastic. The very first step to absolutely nailing any exam is to understand exactly how it works. In this explainer, we're going to give you that complete blueprint. We'll break down the entire assessment so you know precisely what's coming your way. All right, let's pull back the curtain on this exam structure. I promise, once you see how it's all put together, it's not nearly as intimidating as it might feel right now. Together, we're going to break down exactly how you'll be assessed so you can walk into that exam feeling prepared and totally confident. So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with a big picture view of the exam. Then we'll zoom in on the details of Paper 1 and Paper 2. And finally, and this is super important, we're going to decode what the examiners are really looking for when they're marking your work. Okay, first step, let's get that high-level overview. I like to think of this as the blueprint for the entire assessment. It's the foundation that everything else we're going to talk about is built on. It's actually simpler than you might think. Your entire IGCSE Additional Mathematics grade, it all comes down to how you do on just 2 exam papers. That's it. Just 2 key opportunities for you to show what you know. And just look at the perfect symmetry here. Both papers are 2 hours long, both are worth 80 marks, and yep, each one makes up exactly 50% of your final grade. They are perfectly balanced in terms of their weight, but and this is the key part. They test you in very, very different ways. All right, let's talk about Paper 1. Now, this paper has one really important rule that completely changes how you need to prepare for it. This is where your pure, unassisted mathematical skills really get a chance to shine. So for Paper 1, the most powerful tool you have is your own brain, because no calculator is allowed. This paper is specifically designed to test your fundamental skills. Can you handle equations and apply techniques with both speed and precision, all without a safety net? This really means your revision has to focus heavily on things like mental math and being super fluent with your algebra. Now for the second half of your assessment. After you flexed all those mental math muscles in Paper 1, you finally get to bring a pretty powerful tool into the exam room for Paper 2. In Paper 2, a scientific calculator isn't just allowed, it's required. You see, the questions are designed to be less about doing the nitty-gritty calculations by hand and more about your higher-level strategy. The calculator handles the heavy lifting, which frees your brain up to focus on analyzing more complex problems and figuring out which concepts to apply. Here's a great way to think about the difference. Paper 1 is like a musician practicing their scales. It's all about your fundamental fluency, your accuracy, your technique. Paper 2? Well, that's like using all those skills to actually compose a piece of music. You're using your tools to tackle bigger challenges and interpret the results. You absolutely need both to succeed. So we know the format of the papers, right? But what skills are the examiners actually trying to measure? This is the secret sauce. Understanding these assessment objectives, or AOs as they're called, is what separates the good students from the great ones. It really all boils down to 2 core skill areas, Assessment Objective 1 and Assessment Objective 2. And look at that, they are weighted almost equally, with each making up roughly half of your total mark. This balance is so important to understand. So the first objective, AO1, is pretty much all about your knowledge. Can you remember the correct facts, the formulas, the techniques? Things like, do you know the quadratic formula off by heart? This is your foundational, core mathematical knowledge. Then we have the second objective, AO2, which is all about application. This is where you get to be a bit of a mathematical detective. Can you look at a problem, figure out a strategy, and then explain your results clearly? It's not just knowing the quadratic formula, it's looking at a tricky word problem about a projectile's flight path and realizing, aha, I need to use the quadratic formula to solve this. The main takeaway here is this. You just can't get a top grade by focusing on only one of these areas. Knowing all the formulas in the world isn't enough if you don't know when and how to apply them. And solving a complex problem is only half the battle if you can't show your work and communicate your method clearly. Mastering both of these, the knowledge and the application, that's the real key to success. Look, understanding this structure gives you a massive advantage. You now have the blueprint for the entire exam. You know what they're looking for. So the real question is, how are you going to use this knowledge to build your own success? And if you're looking for a little support on that journey, Fundoo Tutor is a personalized learning platform that helps students succeed in Cambridge, IB, and other international curricula, with expert mentorship, structured learning support, and engaging resources. We are absolutely here to help you succeed.